Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Kathy Jaimboi with Creative Edge Marketing, and joining me today is Elliott Feldman with EmpowerDDS. Welcome, Elliott.
Hi, Kathy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. I wanted you to go ahead and tell a little bit about what you've done in the past and what brings you today to EmpowerDDS.
Absolutely. So in my past life, I was general manager of Patterson Dental for the Northern Ohio portion, the top third of the state. And that gave me a lot of experience running through different dental offices. We had over 1,200 customers. I got to see some of the larger offices, smaller offices, and that was kind of my jump start into dental. Previously, I went to law school and received my MBA. So I just wanted to expand my horizons, and dental seemed like a great place to do that. And now with EmpowerDDS, I've built on all the information that I've picked up at Patterson and try to create a really great membership platform.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about EmpowerDDS real quick.
So EmpowerDDS is what we believe to be the most customizable membership platform in the dental space. It gives offices the ability to really create their own platform, their own program in-house, exactly how they want it to be, from pricing to services included, to even a loyalty plan that we don't see anywhere else in the dental space. So it's a full comprehensive membership package that they can offer to their patients.
That's cool. So I know we've been recommending a lot of offices start patient membership plans. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you today, so that others can learn a little bit about your platform. But let's just talk about, what issues are going on in dental practices today. And if we want to maybe start from your perspective with like the pre-COVID issues, that would be great.
Sure. Yeah. So I've heard a great analogy during this time period of the people that survived the Titanic and were able to get back home. The same issues that they had when they left port, they now had, plus a few additional issues. So we're seeing the same thing with the pre-COVID, post-COVID world emerging in dental practices, where there are those pre-COVID issues that we've gotten through the absolute chaos and the stay-at-home and the fear and uncertainty. We're starting to move out of that, and we're starting to recognize that we still have some of the same issues that we had before we went into this whole COVID experience. The first of which being collections down, and we're seeing a trend of production increasing and collections staying flat to decreasing. So the ADA HBI numbers will show that from 2011 to 2018, production actually increased 18%, yet net income in a dental practice stayed flat. And there's quite a few reasons why that happened. So we're seeing increased overhead in dental practices. We're seeing reduced reimbursements and the rise of the cash patient because of this a la carte desire by a younger group. And then, of course, the older group, the 65 and up, that are hitting retirement and now segmenting off an employer-sponsored insurance plan. So all of these things together are causing practices to produce more, but when you have cash patients, you know that they can be a little bit sensitive to that. And when you have increased overhead, of course, the practice isn't bringing as much profit in. And of course, reduced reimbursements will lead to less net income as well. In addition to that, we've also seen, as I mentioned earlier, the transition to this younger a la carte model, where you see companies like Panera offering coffee for $8.99 a month. There's a reason they're offering that monthly model instead of yearly. It's because that's how that patient group buys. They're targeting that market.
That's a good point to something to point out. You see a lot of the membership. You see a lot of that going on. That whole,
Sure.
Everything. You do it with a lot of things, right? Sirius in your car, Netflix. So yeah.
Dental patients with Quip getting their toothbrushes every 3 months on a membership model. You're seeing the entire world evolve to this membership model. So the reason they're gaining in popularity is because of that monthly model. People can pay just a small amount to get access to their services.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're seeing is the younger patient, we'll call it the 25 to 40-year-old, that wants to pay on a monthly model, and dental offices just don't offer that natively in their practice. So that's something that you can do, or that's something that you can offer to your patients that will allow them to pay in the way they want to pay.
I was talking with another office, you're talking about the younger model, but I also think it might work well for the older folks too, that
Sure.
maybe are on Medicare with their, the dental benefit that is pretty much worthless that they're paying for, that might be another avenue to explore. I was talking with the dentist the other day. It's like, we need to target those people that are on that, I can't remember what the name of the plan was, the gold card or something like that, and sell them your membership plan.
Yeah. And that's all part of just adjusting with the trends and seeing this dip in insurance from people losing their private benefits and from cash patients opting out, and developing a plan in office that can not only help your office grow, but help your patients become more comfortable with coming to the dentist.
So do you have any numbers? And, I know that you might not know this, but how many, when you said losing their dental plans or benefits, do you have any numbers correlating to how many companies are offering those services to their employees?
That's something we're just starting to see now as companies tighten the belt from the results of COVID, and just as companies were trying to get more profitable and reduce overhead. It's really hard to tell because that's not a lot of public information, but we are seeing one of the first areas to go are companies dropping benefits. The bigger issue is just employees either being laid off and not having benefits, or employees retiring, taking early retirement packages and not planning for what retirement was going to bring because it kind of just came up on them. So it's not so much the company taking away, it's that there is just no option for it.
So what about the percentage of people who don't have insurance? Because I think I read from the ADA, it's like 50%. What numbers do you show on that?
Yeah, so we see in the most recent HBI article, we've seen that 26% of patients do not receive any form of dental insurance, but the average office sees about 35% of their patients or more as cash patients, and that's on the rise.
Okay, so there's not, so I don't know where I saw that 50%. Maybe it's more 50% that don't go to the dentist. I don't know.
Yeah, so there's a significant amount of people that don't go to the dentist. But yeah, the most recent HBI number showed, off the top of my head, it was something like 64% had dental insurance, 10% had some kind of like public insurance, and then the Medicaid, Medicare entitlements, and then 26% were cash.
Okay.
Those are all surveys.
So, Elliott, is there a reason why an office would want to take that cash paying patient and put them on a membership plan?
Yeah, absolutely. So we see that when patients have dental insurance, it can be harder to find out another office that offers to take your plan or accept your plan. With cash patients, they know that they can go anywhere they want with their dollars. So when you run into an issue where you can't get them into hygiene, you can't schedule them quickly, they can just get up and leave. When they're on a membership plan and it's prepaid dentistry, they're tied to that office, and we've put some things into our platform that make them want to stay with the office as opposed to just searching around and price shopping.
Okay, cool. So before we move on to what you're seeing in offices post-COVID, is there anything else that we didn't talk about pre-COVID?
Sure. Yeah, so poor reimbursements on hygiene have been something that have been around forever. There have been articles since the start of the 2000s talking about how do we transition off some of these poor reimbursing plans. And what a lot of offices don't understand is what their cost of hygiene is. So we see in most offices, and this is pre-COVID, pre-enhanced PPE, pre all these new things that we've seen and new scheduling, the average office pays their hygienist $30 to $35 an hour. And then they spend about $10 an hour in building upkeep. And if you depreciate your equipment, you see that it depreciates about $10 an hour. And then in addition to that, when you perform a cleaning, you have about $10 in supplies. So you combine that all together, and your hygiene department is costing $65 an hour. That's not including the front desk to send out the invoices or to follow up on the insurance, or if there's a denial, to fight that denial. That's not including cancellations that pop in there when patients with insurance don't show up and reschedule. You have a dead hygiene hour. So what we're seeing is a lot of these offices are taking reimbursements of $80 for a cleaning. Their cost to run hygiene is $65. And after you factor in cancellations and the cost of additional staff to run those claims through, hygiene can be a break even at best. So implementing a membership platform allows you First of all, it allows you to dictate what your reimbursement is because you dictate what your charges are. And second, if a patient misses a cleaning per year, they've already prepaid for that and the office accepts that as net income. So it becomes a lot less cyclical on how the office receives their hygiene revenue.
So it keeps it a little bit better flow.
Yep.
I would think more people, if they have prepaid, they're more apt to show up too versus, right? I mean, if you prepay for something, you're going to be there because you've already put the cash out.
Yeah, so that works both ways. Dental insurance patients don't necessarily view it as being prepaid, but when they're actively cutting that check for that membership, they're more likely to use it. And then cash patients are never prepaid if they're not on a membership. So if they don't see you in that 6-month period, then they are not realizing those, or they're not realizing those charges. And if the dental insurance patient doesn't see you during their once every 6 months, the insurance company keeps the money. So it's more likely to get both insured patients and uninsured patients in the chair.
Cool. So let's talk about what offices are facing post-COVID that you're seeing.
Yeah, so chaos. So Bloomberg recently did a study that showed that 48.7% of dental practices were exceeding 76% of their previous year's revenue. So that's an important measure. That's telling us that only 48.7% of offices, less than half offices, are actually hitting their revenue milestones in the months of June and July from last year on a comparable basis, wow. Which means over half the offices out there aren't even at 3/4 of their production from the previous year. So while hygiene feels incredibly busy, it's more likely because you're spacing patients out or you're crunching them all in at once. But a lot of offices just aren't hitting that important revenue number.
Well, there was 2 months where they had no revenue, right? So the revenue that they're seeing now, it's just kind of coming from 2 months that they didn't have, in essence.
Yeah, that would be great, but the study period was from May to July. So the concern is that the restorative work may not be there. Oh. We don't know exactly what dollars are missing, but we do know that offices are hurting in terms of revenue. And a lot of the times, offices will just leave it up to their accountant to let them know how profitable they are, but the accountants don't run their books normally on a daily basis. So this can be a lag metric to the office of understanding how profitable the office is.
Mm-hmm. So what else are you seeing?
So we're also seeing a new patient flow, right? To your point, when we had that stay at home, a lot of patients were scheduled between March 15th and depending on what state you're in, May 15th in that time frame, that 2-month window. So when it came time to reopen, a lot of offices didn't have any long-term notice of when they were going to reopen. A lot of states, it was 5 to 6 days ahead of reopening. Yeah. So what that did was that caused the staff to have to reschedule patients as soon as possible and create this log jam of patients in June, July, and August to try to get everybody in as fast as possible. But when you treat a high number of insured patients that are on a once every 6 rule, if you see somebody July 1st, you can't see them again for the remainder of the year because we're not going to have 6 months left in the year for you to see them. So now we're creating this new cycle where you're going to have a big crush of patients because of the stay at home from June until, let's say, August. And then we're going to hit the 6-month window of when the stay at home started. And that's where we see a lot of offices having decreased patient flow, under 50% hygiene utilization. Right. That continues until mid-November, which is when stay at home ended. And then they get busy again with their traditional end of year and with patients that came in after stay at home. Mm-hmm. So you have a big pool of patients that lost their second visit this year, but also this cycle won't stabilize until offices figure out a way to fill that gap, because what's going to happen is the patients we see in December are going to be back in June, or June or July. And you're going to have that stay-at-home period next year of March to May that is slow again. So it's a real challenge for offices to figure out how to do that when their patients are only entitled to a cleaning once every 6 months. It's almost like you have to ask the patient to miss a cleaning again next year to get them back on schedule, right. Which nobody wants to do because of the loss of revenue and the patient doesn't get their cleaning.
Let me ask you, didn't a lot of insurance companies lax on, say that they were going to forgive the 6 month plus a day?
There are some that have. There are more that have not.
Oh.
They're sticking to it pretty tightly.
So, okay, so now we have patients that, didn't come in, that are now not getting their 2 cleanings, but then they're not showing, the way that the cycle is all messed up. Then obviously, if with the lack of patients from 2 months, the doctor doesn't have the treatment, right?
Yep.
Coming up. So, wow, what else are you seeing? Anything else? I mean, because that's pretty significant.
Yeah, and we're also seeing the rise of the new cash patient from unemployment and from patients just trying to strap down, or they may have had dental insurance and they've canceled it because of COVID and the fear of going to the doctor. So we're seeing an influx of cash patients into offices, and offices aren't really trained to ask why a patient is cash. It's just when a patient comes in, they're cash, and we're going to treat them like a cash patient. So it's hard to grasp when you see a rise in cash patients, but it's out there, especially if an office is tied to one employer that had mass layoffs, and we're continuing to see layoffs sporadically throughout the communities. If the office is tied to that employer and takes 40% of its patient base from that employer, they deal with an influx of cash patients overnight, which can be a problem.
Okay. So we have the cash patient, and obviously that's the patient really every dental practice wants, right? Cash paying patient. So I think one of the questions is, with that cash paying patient, why would they want to give them a discount, right? With a membership plan?
Sure. So membership plans don't have to be discount plans. We have some customers that they want to encourage people on PPOs to jump off, so they sharpen their rates a little bit. We have other offices that are actually charging a little bit more than they would normally charge in a cash fee schedule for giving that patient a monthly option. And that's pretty standard across any form of e-commerce or commerce that you deal with, is that you have an annual price that's X dollars, and you have a monthly price that sometimes is a little bit higher. So we don't dictate whether an office has to give a discount. Now, I will say that a lot of offices give a very, very small discount, things like free fluoride for a membership patient, things that aren't service time, that aren't discounting actual hard labor costs, but more of a dollar fluoride application and passing those savings on to the patient to make sure that they're part of the practice and part of that membership program.
Okay. So what are you seeing as far as the discounts that people are offering? What are they ranging from?
So we have a few offices that will keep their cash fee schedule set as it is, and we do a plan analysis. We're one of the only companies that will take your fees and run them into a monthly and annual model, so you know exactly what to charge instead of just a wild guess. But they'll keep their fees the same and offer a restorative discount of 10 to 20%. We have offices that offer restorative and cosmetic discounts for 10 to 20%. That's the beauty of the plan, is we can figure out how to position your plan based on the patient base that you want. So there is no enforcement of a discount, but a lot of the times if you want to go after a specific patient base, we can gear a discount towards them if you'd like to do that.
So you can customize your plans among, like you can say, a lot of offices will do, regular plan, and then they'll do a perio plan, right? That's basically the two plans that they're offering. So you're saying you can have multiple plans?
Sure. Yeah. So a lot of our offices will have a child plan, an adult plan, and a perio plan. And that's what we call base plans. Those are your preventative plans. Beyond that, you can add or subtract. If you don't see a heavy patient base of children, you can remove that plan and swap it out with something else. We don't have a requirement that you have a minimum or maximum number of plans. We do suggest to keep it between 3 and 5 though, because it can be a bit overwhelming for the patient. So a lot of offices, if they want to add that 4th plan, sometimes it's a senior plan for people 65 and up, and they give them a small discount off the adult plan or a small discount off the perio plan. Beyond that, we're one of the only companies that allows you to offer add-ons. So remember, the base plan's a preventative, the add-on is more of the aesthetics. We have offices that will charge on a monthly basis for whitening, clear aligners. You can really get creative with this platform and customize the plan exactly how you want it. So if you make the correlation to streaming TV, you've got your base packages, which are your preventative, your base TV plans. And then you can add the movie channels. So for those younger patients that we talked about wanting monthly, they want to build their own package. They want to kind of build their own membership and their own platform. You can offer that service to them.
Yeah, that sounds great. Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how the plan, like, okay, so we talked about the cash paying patient. I think we know that they have choices and they can easily leave a practice. So one of the benefits of having the plan is it keeps them in the practice. You talked about loyalty in that, that your plan has loyalty built in, which is something I've never seen before. And it's really difficult to do like loyalty. You know, there's a lot of companies that offer loyalty, you know, you get so many points and whatever. It's kind of hard in a dental practice to offer loyalty, you know, when you think about it. But the fact that this has built-in loyalty, talk about that and tell me how you're doing it and what it is and what makes people stay.
So during my time running through offices, as I would talk to doctors about off-ramping PPO patients or concerns about cash patients, the same feedback was always given to me of a lot of our cash patients aren't extremely loyal to us. They come to us because we do a great job and we service them, and we probably give them a little bit of a discount on fees. And the PPO patients, they can hop around and they don't jump off. We want to transition them off of PPO, but what happens with restorative? So the big question for cash and PPO patients is normally what happens when they need a restorative procedure. So we offer a loyalty plan built into the membership that allows the office to give a percentage of what the patient pays into the plan in restorative cash. Now, this restorative cash is a fake credit that goes into their plan. It doesn't come out of your collections. So let's say the average office on our plan will give 10% back in restorative cash. So if you charge a patient $35 a month for their preventative plan, they'll receive $3.50 back in restorative cash each month, month over month, year over year. We kind of view it as a dental HSA, that rainy day fund for restorative. The average patient touches the restorative chair every 4 to 5 years. Of course, age will influence that. But the younger patients, myself, for example, never had a crown, never had a cavity. I was paying in a dental insurance for 20 years. So what do I have to show for that after 20 years? Some cleanings that the office was probably underpaid on, but there was no restorative benefit that I accrued over that time. Whereas with a loyalty program, I would accrue that dollar amount month over month, year over year. That amount cannot be transferred to any other office. So if the patient wants to leave and go to another office that has an EmpowerDDS platform, they can't move it. What it does is it works like a loyalty plan is supposed to work, and it binds the patient to your practice and also gives them a benefit to continue on plan. So these patients can accrue dollars. It stops them from, in the event that, let's say, there's another unfortunate stay-at-home where you have a jam in your hygiene scheduling again. If they leave, they can't take that restorative cash anywhere else with them. So it keeps them with the practice and gives you an opportunity to re-engage them.
So that's good. So that would be a form of a discount, right? Because that would be the way to do the discount where there really is no discount, right? But you're still getting you're getting 10% discount in essence, right?
Yeah, so we leave it up to the offices. If they want to opt out of the loyalty program, they just select 0 for the incentive, and then it won't pull anything out and won't give the patient any restorative cash. It is a discount, but it's not a dollar for dollar discount, because we see in loyalty programs that the amount redeemed is normally 51%. So you're probably going to redeem 50 cents in the dollar, and it's on services. So it's something that you can control. And if we long-term look at your fee schedule and get your fee schedule exactly where it should be, it's a very, very small impact. It's more of a perceived benefit for the patient.
Yeah, it sounds cool. So having the plan, let's talk about, let's say you put this plan in place, and I know there's a good way to do it where you can even, look at the patients who are on the PPOs and say, hey, let's compare the plans. Like you said, if you need restorative, that's where where their plan is almost worthless or not as powerful as the, preventative plans. So you can do the comparative analysis with the patient, but then, what's the benefit of having the plan in the long run?
So long run, it gives you the ability from the patient end, they're getting a better level of care, because we're seeing practices start to change their products based on what the reimbursement level is in the plan. If the plan is a low-paying plan, the patient will receive product group A. If the plan is a higher-paying plan, they'll receive product group B. What the patient's benefit of being on a membership plan is they incur those restorative cash dollars, and they get treated the best possible way because now they're providing revenue for the office that is very important. And long-term on the practice end, having patients on a reoccurring plan, to our point earlier of streamlining revenue, when you have somebody paying on a monthly or yearly model, it kind of flattens out. You don't have those peaks and valleys that you see when hygiene season kicks in November and December in a typical year. You see hygiene get crushed and revenue go up, and then hygiene revenue is slow in January and February as patients get settled back in. So on a membership plan, those payments come in month after month or year after year, depending on what plan they're in. It's automatically reoccurring, and it's predictable cash flow for the practice, so you don't have those peaks and valleys.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah. And we tend to see the ADA, I want to say that attrition rates, the average office, the attrition rates are 18%. So that means almost 1 in 5 patients is leaving. It may be due to death, moving. It's not. But we are seeing about 1 in 5 for an attrition rate. I think the ADA number was 8 to 10% on a membership plan. So it decreases to about 50% if they're on a plan.
Yeah, that's significant when you do the math.
Yeah.
It's all math. When you run those numbers, that can be very impactful. So we have a lot of practices that have plans, but they do them themselves.
Sure.
So talk to me about, because I just was speaking with an office yesterday and they were talking about, should I get a service for this? Should I do it myself? And I don't really always have a good answer for that. So what would be the advantage to them using your plan, or even, I know there's other ones out on the market, and, there's a cost obviously associated, but, there's, I'm sure a lot of benefit to having a platform and having help in the administration of the plan. So talk about that.
Sure. So when an office decides they want to implement a plan, they kind of go through 2 stages. Do we run it ourselves, which I call self-administered, or do we have a third party administer it and we receive the funds? So let's talk about self-administered for a second. Self-administered plans are great. The problem is the office normally offers a one-size-fits-all plan. So you'll have an adult cleanings plan that'll have the 2 exams, x-rays, and cleanings for a yearly amount. The problem with that is, one, it's not reoccurring. You have to hope that that patient comes in every year. A lot of the times it's nearly impossible with PCI compliance laws to charge the patient on a monthly basis. So you have to hope the patient comes in yearly and prepays for that again the next year.
Can you,
in addition to that,
let me ask you a question, stop you for a second, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but you said PCI compliance laws. That's over my head, probably over many people's heads too. So can you explain that a little bit?
With medical billing, there's 2 important laws. There's HIPAA compliance and there's PCI compliance. HIPAA, of course, is medical records. So anytime that you run a payment for somebody and it prints a receipt, that's a medical record. So if you're running monthly payments through your traditional card reader, it can be a lot of medical records coming through, and it can also be a lot of time on the staff. If you're running yearly, which about 95% of self-administered plans do, you can't keep that credit card information on file. There are a very, very long and extensive path to try to maintain that credit card information, but most offices that try to do it keep it on a spreadsheet that's unlocked. That'll run you afoul of PCI compliance, and you could be in for some serious damages if there's fraud. If a disgruntled staff member steals that list of credit cards and it's found out that it came from your office, that could be issues. Okay. So when you work with a third-party platform, they keep it cloud-based in a secure environment where the office can only see the last 4 digits of the credit card and the expiration date like you would with any other e-commerce software, and it protects you on a PCI level.
Okay, so do you also offer ACH as a method of payment? That's a way to save on those nasty credit card fees.
Sure. On our platform, ACH fees are 75 cents per transaction. So if somebody pays you $450 for the year for their membership plan on an ACH transaction, you pay 75 cents on that.
Yeah, that's a deal. Okay, so you cleared up the PCI compliance. What else about, self-administered versus having a platform is important to an office, or where they run into
Yeah,
obstacles?
sure. So especially now, the front desk has a bunch of new tasks. They have to take forehead scans when the patient comes in. A lot of offices will have their team run out to the parking lot where the patient's waiting, have them fill out forms. The front desk simply doesn't have the time to do all that tracking and monitoring of a self-administered plan, because again, a lot of the times that plan is done in an Excel spreadsheet. We're seeing attrition rates on staffing increase in an office, whether somebody gets sick or opts out of coming back to the practice.
Right.
An office normally has one plan administrator. So when the plan administrator leaves and they know everything about the plan and it's on a self-administered plan, that presents a problem because nobody in the office knows how the plan runs. And when the office is just overloaded like they are now, the plan becomes a 15th thing to consider instead of their normal 10 to 15 jobs they have on a daily basis anyways. So the plan falls by the wayside. We see a lot of self-administered plans reach 10 to 15 patients, and then it just becomes too hard to track, so the office stops presenting it. So self-administered plans are fine as long as you have expectations. We see very, very few self-administered plans that reach 20, 30, 50, 100 patients, where they, on a third-party administered plan, through quite a few companies, you can generally increase that number.
What would you say is what's the average that you're seeing on a plan?
Average is really what the office wants to get out of it. Are you talking about a third-party plan?
Yes.
Yeah. So we have offices that they only want to target a certain segment of patient. They may have 25 patients. We have offices that make this a focal point, and they have 100 to 200. We don't really enforce on what you have to have. We just want to make sure that you're thoroughly happy with the plan.
So Elliott, how would you say a third-party plan can help control the issues that are going on right now in dental practices?
That's a great question. So one, it can help you control your collections. As we talked about previously, pre-COVID and post-COVID, offices are seeing a decrease in collections. By getting a patient on a membership plan, you can adjust your fees monthly per year. So when a patient is on a plan, let's say again, $35 a month, and your fees increase, you don't have to tell that patient at time of service their fees went up $25, $30, $40 a month, or I'm sorry, $25 or $40 a year. You can charge them additional $2 to $3 per month. And now it becomes the cost of a cup of coffee instead of a full-on meal for that time of service visit. If the office closes, you'll also still continue to receive revenue. So this is pre and post-COVID again. We had quite a few offices pre-COVID where the doctor would need some kind of procedure where the office is going to be closed 2 to 3 weeks. That revenue just stops flat when that happens. Or in the event, unfortunately, if there's another stay-at-home for some reason in the winter or spring, the office will continue to receive revenue because these aren't like gym memberships. The patient is prepaying towards their dental care. So they'll continue to pay into that and it won't pause while you're closed. Finally, it helps you get your schedule back on track because you don't have to live by that once every 6 month rule. We set the plans up so the patient thinks it's once every 6 months, but if you want to move them up 5 months or move them up in month 5 for a cleaning to fill some of that downtime, you can do that on the plan. You control the plan, you decide how to utilize it. It's your project, we just help administer it.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's a no-brainer really, right?
Yeah, there's no fixed monthly fees on the Empower platform. So there are some membership companies out there that'll charge $300 or $400 a month, no matter how many patients you have on, which can make it a little daunting to on-ramp, especially when revenue can be tight right now that we've seen in previous examples.
Yeah.
You're not receiving 100% of your revenue. So the concern for a lot of offices is, what if I get people on? With the Empower platform, fees are as low as 6%, and you pay us a percentage of what you collect. So if you have one patient on for $35 a month, you only pay a percentage of that $35 a month. There is no $100, $200, $300 monthly minimum payment that you have to hit.
Okay, I see. So is it also if that person comes in and they're on the plan, they're on the basic plan, let's say, and they have restorative treatment, that doesn't come onto the plan, that's separate. So you're not collecting on other revenue that's generated unless it's part of the plan.
Correct. The only revenue that Empower takes a piece of is the revenue that flows through your plan. So if you have a preventative patient that comes in for a crown, You charge them out just as you would as a cash patient through your practice management program and your credit card terminal. That's got nothing to do with us.
That's cool. So that sounds great. What else do I need to know about your system or how it can help or anything that we didn't cover?
Yeah, the biggest thing is we're that white glove service for you. So a lot of offices, they'll implement competitive plans or self-administered plans, and nobody comes out to train you. So Empower's, to the best of my knowledge, the only company that'll perform a live training and not a WebEx training. We go through countless offices that sign up with a competitive plan that say, I got a 1 hour training video, but my staff isn't comfortable talking about memberships. The first 2 to 3 hours of our full live day training, that's going over the portal. The portal's pretty easy to pick up. Most people can pick it up in about 45 minutes. We spend most of our day talking about how to present memberships to the patients, talking to hygiene about how to present memberships to the patients, and then the front desk, how to set them up. We're also, to the best of my knowledge, the only company that gives you the technology to onboard the patient without them having to fill out any paperwork or without the front desk having to enter any data. A lot of plans will require the patient to go home and sign up. We see a significant upwards of an 80% drop off when a patient leaves the office to sign up. The correlation I make, when I go and get some really good service, I get a receipt with a survey on the bottom, and I really want to tell the company how good the service was, but I put the receipt on my car seat, drive off, and life happens. So the same thing happens when they leave your office. Is you tell them about this plan, they get really excited, they have your flyer, but then they go home and forget about it. And 6 months later, they show up for their cleaning, they're still not on a plan, and they say, that was great, I should have done that. And now they have to go home and sign up again, and they forget again. So we give every office that onboards with us an iPad. The patient signs up on the iPad. The sign-up process is about 4 minutes. In that 4 minutes, they put their information in, select their plan, put their credit card information in. It all flows through the back end of the platform. So you don't have to worry about any data entry errors by the person taking the credit card information. You don't have to worry about the patient going home and whether they're going to accomplish that. And overall, you don't have to worry about the front desk being burdened by having to sign up membership patients. They just hand them the iPad and the patient takes care of it themselves.
So when you said you provide the training, you give them the verbal skills on how to, because that to me is key, is, it's,
sure.
And I think that's where you say, a lot of it where it can get complicated if the staff changes or, they're busy that day, and when they're doing it themselves, it falls by the wayside. I think it also falls by the wayside because they may not have the verbal skills, and it's hard for them to know what exactly to say and what environment they say it in, right? So when you are going over the train, are you providing them with like scripts and the like?
Yeah. So we have a full-blown training team that'll go out no matter where you're at. And what we do during that training is help you pick up on cues. So we have some scripts that we drop off, but the biggest piece is working with hygiene. And hygiene really needs to understand why it's beneficial to the patient, because their clinical mindset and what's best for the patient is what's best for the practice. So we talk to hygiene about the benefits. Most of our plans, the offices will set it up. X-rays are when medically necessary instead of on that once every 3 to 5 year schedule or once a year schedule. So that's a perk for the patient. If they need a non-routine X-ray, that's covered under part of the plan if the office decides to allow that. But more so, talking to hygiene about how the package covers everything that the patient needs for preventative, from X-rays to fluoride to cleanings. So you don't have to, as a hygienist, when you have a patient in the chair, we teach them these cues that you can pick up on. For example, you tell the patient it's time for their X-rays, and the patient says how much. Or you ask the patient if they would like fluoride, and the patient says how much. Price-sensitive patient may benefit from bundling it and not trying to piece together every cost. So with hygiene, it's that better clinical treatment of the patient because the patient's more comfortable paying for the procedures. And then at the front desk, it's a patient maybe being reluctant to schedule their recare in 6 months, especially a cash patient. And they'll say, yeah, I'll call in. We know that patients that aren't on a consistent pre-scheduled 6-month recare process normally aren't regularly visiting the dentist. So when they get that objection, we try to push them into a membership plan. So we give the office the tools that they need to better understand which patients are best for a membership plan, because there are PPOs that pay very fairly. And we don't necessarily want to migrate a patient off of those PPOs. But for the PPOs that just aren't reimbursing you properly, or the cash patient that's hesitant to come in, We help target those patients, and we help you execute the plan.
Sounds great. Sounds like a great service. I really want to thank you for all the information you provided. You provided a lot of information, whether I think, you know, whether a practice would choose to go with you or not. I think it's definitely an option that they should all be considering, is moving into this membership type plan format, because as time goes on and as, you know, unemployment rises or whatever it may be, I think all these circumstances are things that, you know, they're just trying to deal with too. It's like, how do we navigate what's going on right now? And I think a lot of them are, you know, maybe in the weeds because of the shutdown, and they're not really, you know, don't have a full grasp, like you say, of what's going to happen into the future. So the more you can plan for the future, the better. So I really want to thank you for being with us today and providing all the information. It's been great.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. And I encourage everyone to explore your options out there, because the world's changing at a rapid pace, and memberships can help lock down your office and secure some things in your future. So as Kathy mentioned, there is no risk to, you know, just hearing about some of these plans. And on our end, we always do a complimentary plan analysis so you can better understand what the plan would look like in your practice as opposed to what it would look like in theory. So thanks for letting me come on, Kathy, and thanks for letting me spread the message about membership plans.
Yeah, sure. And what I'm going to do is at the end of this, there'll be a slide that'll show your contact information. If anybody wants to take advantage of Elliott's complimentary analysis, you'll be able to get in touch with him there. Thank you so much for being with us today. Have a great day.